The first one is talking about remote ID. And we've talked about remote ID for a long time. And when we last left you, we had talked about rumors of an enforcement delay in remote ID. And that is what we got. We got an enforcement delay by the FAA. If you actually pull up that third link first, let's use that.
Oh, yeah, that
The
makes
third
sense.
link. So this is the one the Federal Register posted. And they basically, to be clear, what they say is for non-compliance with remote ID operating requirements applicable to UAS, which occurs on or before March 16th, 2024, so that's 6 months away, the FAA will consider all circumstances, in particular unanticipated issues with the available supply and excessive cost of remote ID broadcast modules, and an unanticipated delay in the FAA's approval of FRIAs, the areas where we can fly without remote ID, while exercising its discretion in determining whether to take enforcement action. So you might notice that does not say the rule has been delayed. It
Right.
does not say the rule is not in effect.
Right.
It says we'll consider that you might not have been able to buy a module if you get in trouble, right?
Right. Right. The federal agencies have discretion, have wide discretion in how they enforce regulations. I don't see any problem with that. But I also could see the benefit of, it's why court cases are decided by a judge and not a robotic algorithm that is, and a jury, which are humans who use their judgment to make calls. And what we're seeing here is the FAA exercising that discretion. I really don't feel like they're like, doing us a favor by saying, hey, guys, we realize that things are going just as badly as you all predicted they would.
Right. The things we said were going to happen didn't happen. And because of that, we'll let you slide, maybe. Right. Okay, great.
Right. But the takeaway from this is that if you've heard the headline, remote ID delayed by 6 months, it does not mean just forget about it for 6 months. Or, I don't know, some of you have already forgotten about it, right? Yeah. It means that the FAA, you got a little more leeway. But, and what I said was, even if they had delayed it by 6 months, that just means you kick the can down the road. You're still going to have to answer the questions about how you will or will not comply not today or tomorrow. It's not going away. So you got a little bit of leeway, I guess, is the takeaway.
Yeah. And so we want to get as much information as we could about this. One thing they did, there's a group called the Drone Responders, and they had a meeting with the FAA. The Drone Responders is like search and rescue public safety guys that all get together on a call. So our first story here is about that. And basically, in so many words, they're telling you, don't wait. This isn't an indication that you could just wait until March to order your module, right?
Or not order your module.
Right. So
sorry, I'll just keep doing that.
Mike O'Shea from the FAA said it's important that when you're able to comply, you do comply. And then John Meehan from the FAA says, think about your mission sets, think about what you're going to need. If you need it in March, you need it now. So while officially they're going to consider options, they're telling public safety, they're telling people who were on this call, they're telling everyone otherwise, you still need to work to try to comply. If there's 15 modules out there available for sale, so now on the other side of this, will any enforcement happen? Do we actually expect anything to go on from this? It's probably a no, right? And previously the FAA has always just kind of patted you on the wrist and gone, hey, you should have a module and we're warning you, that sort of thing, right? I personally expect, that what we'll see from this is in the next 6 months, 2 to 5 people who do extremely egregious things,
right,
will essentially have their head put on a pike and will still be prosecuted under remote ID rules for either disabling remote ID on a DJI drone, refusing to update as required, or not having a module like they're supposed to. That would be my guess.
That makes sense. We have, and obviously we can't predict the future, but we've seen the FAA in the past try to make examples of particularly egregious people, and that we know that the FAA is very concerned with messaging. Like they'll take someone and instead of fining them, they'll say, will you make a video saying what you did wrong and helping educate people? And they have a carrot and a stick approach, where they'll take one guy who flew his drone and like should have had a 107 or shouldn't have flown over people, and he'll make a public facing video saying, I was bad, I didn't know, the FAA was nice to me, don't be bad. And they'll be like, good job. Or they'll take somebody and they'll try and just pile fines on them as a way of saying, you know, don't be this guy. So yeah, like they are not saying remote ID, we'll just forget about it for 6 months. And like, for example, like I made a video where I had a remote ID module. Well, it's going to be hard for somebody like me to argue that, oh, I couldn't get a remote ID module. That's why I was flying without one. I literally, they know, oh, I lost it. I lost it in a boating accident. Oops.
And we're not lawyers, obviously. None of this can be taken as rules or anything you should follow, because
That's true.
know there's plenty of arguments in both directions, right? Okay, you promised it would be $50. The cheapest one is $80 to $100, not on sale, right?
Yeah.
So then, is it fair for me to have to order that when you said it wasn't? Is that part of your enforcement delay, right? And then how can you prove that it was available for me to purchase? Is it just because it was available for the greater public? Should I have known where these locations are to purchase it? Is there's no official listing, right? There's all these weird pieces that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
But the main thing here, I would say, is the average user is not going to get in trouble for this. Most people will not have any problems with this. And when you get ramp checked by the FAA, if somebody was ever to walk up on you, they're not even going to ask like where you got your module. You know what I mean? Like it's very loose. So I wouldn't worry too much.
Confessor in the Discord has a good point, which is that they will just tack on remote ID infractions when you do something else dumb, which is another strategy we've seen them employ. You fly over a stadium, you land at an airport or otherwise do some dumb shit. When they pile on the infractions, the remote ID is going to be one of them. But it's probably not going to be the only thing you get dinged for.
I expect we'll also see some headlines going, remote ID helped us catch this guy who flew next to an airport because we got his ID, right? Like I'm sure we'll see a lot of those stories coming out as well.
I'm trying to figure out how hard to roll my eyes, and I haven't got the energy. But pretend that I rolled my eyes really bad.